Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and today I'm going a bit off the beaten path. Instead of going to space, we're going to cyberspace, because I am a huge fan of the classic console game Rez. It was originally released in 2001 for the Dreamcast, and shocked everybody today when it was released on PC. Now, this is the remake, or the reboot, Rez Infinite. It's the same game, it's got some new features, and it works in glorious high resolution. In fact, I heard one particular team managed to get it running at like 16K because they're crazy people. But Rez is this kind of... It was considered to be the ravers game. It uses electronic music, which was, hot in the era. And the way it works is you are this little avatar flying through the game system, through this computer system you're trying to hack. Now, the site that you're moving around, what you do is you hold the button down and it buffers up a bunch of shots. And only when you let go of the fire button do all the things fire, and they fire in sync with the music. They will form arpeggios that line up with the music. So everything all merges together into this glorious on-rail cyberspace shooter. The imagination in this thing is stunning. Another mechanic is that as you shoot down certain enemies, you get big crystals, you blow those up, and then the music transitions to the next level, like this. It's also worth noting that the original game it did an interesting thing with haptic feedback. While the DualShock controller in the PlayStation 2 had, vibration, it wasn't powerful enough, so they actually developed a specific vibration peripheral called the trance vibrator, which would provide real power feedback for the games. Because, the developer was really interested in merging all the senses together. The developers actually approached several major producers to get the music for the game. In particular, I remember Adam Freeland doing Fear for this. Now, of course, the music used in the game, it was interesting because they had to have it with different levels of complexity as you unlock the different levels, and then they'd have loops and stuff to make sure everything's synced up with the boss battles. So apparently it was like a really interesting dev process, as they had to continually iterate on the music to make everything synchronized and continually iterate on the bosses to make this happen. So yeah, this is the Rez Infinite, which is a new version. There was a Rez HD that was released on the Xbox 360, but this is the first PC version. The original lead developer of the game, Tetsuya Mitsuguchi, he basically set up a studio, Enhance Games, and all they've done is create Rez Infinite. This is like his greatest life's work or whatever. But you know what? I know what you're all thinking by now. Why don't you shut up and just let this thing speak for itself? And you know what? I'm gonna do that. So at this point, my elite hacking skills have brought me through the level, and we are facing off against the guardian of this zone. So it's basically a boss battle. There is actually a story, by the way, and the story is that you are an elite hacker trying to break into a system to fix an AI that's gone wrong. The system is trying to shut you down, trapping you inside it. Oh, hallelujah. I thought I was gonna die there. You may have noticed that my avatar gets progressively less complex as I lose energy, and as you get to higher energy levels, you get more and more fluid. Eventually you end up as like a godlike creature sitting in the lotus position, zapping everything with awesome light shows. One of the other features or upgrades that comes with Rez Infinite is full-on VR support. So if you have the money, if you have the hardware, you can play it, and it's just like playing the game on the biggest screen TV you can find. Now, I thought that when I would play this, I would suffer terrible motion sickness because this is just crazy lights flying everywhere, but I was just totally immersed in the game. It was mind-blowing. It was amazing. It was like coming back to the days when this was the most original thing you'd ever seen on the PlayStation 2. The original game looked stunning in 480p. And it still looks pretty good when it's on a, 1440p monitor split between two eyes and stretched across the whole area. Look, VR is not known for its high resolution, but for this game, it absolutely 100% works. Maybe some people have motion sickness, but, I certainly didn't, and it is just this amazing audio, visual, musical, haptic, immersive experience with rave music, which just brings me back to like 15 years ago when this was amazing. The final important part of Rez Infinite is Area X. Area X is an entirely new section of the game. It wasn't in any of the original or the HD remaster. This is a free-flowing area. You're able to fly backwards and forwards. You're no longer on rails. The style of music, very different. The effects are unmistakably Rez, but equally they are definitely much more modern, designed for much higher resolution graphics. There's so many particles. When the digital adversaries explode, they do so by, shattering into a shower of colored particles, looking like fireworks or paint splattering across the sky. This is great. This just brings me back. Yeah, so I'm gonna say $20 for Rez is perhaps, depending how you look at it, might be a lot of money because the game is pretty short. Definitely a bit of replay value, but honestly, it's like listening to a favorite album again and again because the experience, the sequencing, the rhythm, the ebb and the flow of the music just works for you. Speaking of which, I should probably shut up and let you listen to this too. So anyway, Rez is on PC finally. I'm gonna say, Rez is one of those games that is talked about in high regard, not necessarily because its game mechanics are particularly innovative or interesting. It is a game experience. An experience where the audio and the visuals work to complement the gameplay that there is. If you've ever heard about this game, ever wanted to play it, this is it. It's on PC, it's on Steam, and it's on Oculus, it works in VR. I'm gonna say the VR really is pretty awesome. But even without VR, just the ability to play it at like 4K resolution if you have the hardware, this is awesome. It's really great thing to have. And it's been fantastic revisiting this world once again. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.